Hello, my name is Ariana Cortez, and for the topic of my literature review, I chose to discuss upon moles/skin lesions as a diagnosis for skin cancer. And for the particular topic that a diagnosis that I chose to elaborate more on was the ABCDE method. And this method, the different letters represent a particular component, such as the A represents asymmetry, B represents border, C represents color, D represents diameter, E represents the evolution or evolving of a particular molar skin lesion. And this method uses the different components or correspondence to, it uses that in particular to identify a mole or certain skin lesion that is either malignant or benign. And for example, if someone had a mole, then you could use color, for example, to identify whether it's benign or malignant, because you can see whether or not the colors are very it's not natural colors. It's more maybe a dark purplish, dark brownish, not necessarily things that would occur on your skin. And so this method is very, I think that it's because it's self-diagnosable, that it's very helpful as opposed to other methods than for diagnosis, because people are it's fairly easy to self-diagnose yourself and see whether or not you have a particular molar skin lesion that is a cause for concern, so you can get it checked out before it becomes a serious problem or becomes more serious, as in developing into a tumor and then developing into skin cancer. So for my subtopics that I chose to discuss upon in my literature review was, so the first one was that if the elderly are more prone to getting basal cell carcinomas. And in a sense, when I was doing my research, a lot of articles were saying that it was half-half, that but mostly what stood out was that the elderly are more prone to getting basal cell carcinomas because the elderly, there's a lot of different situations that apply to them, because most often a lot of elderly people are vision impaired, and they particularly are not able to self-diagnose themselves, or they self-diagnose themselves or use the ABCDE method because they're vision impaired, or in other cases they may not notice a particular lesion or mole. And also because they are elderly or they are older, they have been exposed to UV radiation or sunlight exposure longer than opposed to other people. And so for my second subtopic, I chose to talk about the factors of, if the factors of getting melanoma is more hereditary or has to do with age. And so for this one, I found out that it not necessarily has to pertain to age, but if your family member does have a history of getting skin cancer, then you are more susceptible to getting it. But although, because there is a gene called the BRCA1/2 gene that it states that it's not, it doesn't pertain to getting the skin cancer, but you are, studies have been shown that you are more susceptible to getting other cancers, such as ovarian cancer. And so although it does have to do, in a sense, it does have to do more with age, because depending on whether you've been more exposed to sunlight, as is previous stated to the previous subtopic, but in most cases it does not have to do with hereditary means, but it does have to do with whether or not you're taking care of your skin, if you're exposed to the sun a lot, or whether or not you took care of your skin when you were younger, because that does also play a key role. And so basically, to sum up, so for the ABCDE method is most reliable because a lot of whether or not you are able to self-diagnose yourself, it's fairly easy to even ask to even go to a doctor or for them to self-diagnose you using this method, because it's fairly easy to catch the problem on spot, whether as opposed to leaving it or just making it a problem that occurs continuously.